Hello Griffin Scopers, lovely to see you once again. Welcome back into our magic compact bijou cozy little sound booth, the place where we like to do soul birth card character analysis, getting under the day-to-day gossip and into the heart and soul of what a person's character is and what they came here to learn in this life. These energies that we look at do not change from birth through till death, so they're always going to be present no matter what's going on in their life. Now today I'm going to be covering a royal. We're looking at whether you like this one or dislike her. We're looking at the Queen Consort herself, Queen Camilla. So guys, if that's something that interests you, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. That helps keep the content coming to you. And if anybody would like a private reading with me, then please do get in touch. My email address is in the description box. So let's get into it. Let's have a look and see what Queen Camilla has as part of her character card makeup. So we always get 2 cards for the character card makeup and 2 cards for the soul birth cards. Okay, so she is in fact exactly the same as Princess Diana. She is the Chariot card and the lightning struck tower. So let's start with the Chariot first of all. So both Camilla and Diana, by the way, are Cancerians, in case you didn't know already. We've even got the little C look in the crescent moon, C for Camilla. So here we see a crow flying through opposing forces and elements. We can see that the lightning clouds here, the storms with a victory wreath placed between the crow's wings, and this has been kind of like Queen Camilla's or Queen Consort's public journey. So her public life has always been marked by these opposing elements and polarizing perceptions as well. So she's been vilified as the woman that's, you know, a bit of a home-wrecking whore, later crowned, like I said, as Queen Consort. But her journey mirrors a chariot's procession. I can't imagine, guys, it's very comfortable being in those golden royal carriages, quite bumpy, I should think. And she has been moving forward despite the crowd's cheers and the crowd's jeers. So she's steered her life through opposition, scandal and judgment, which would be symbolic of those lightning strikes. And she's shown her endurance and her quiet willpower, and her eventual position as Queen Consort reflects the Chariot's ultimate triumph here. So she's shown that recognition has come not by force but by steady direction over the decades. The Chariot isn't always fast, and her victory has been far from quick, but it's taken a long time, this stormy journey. Camilla's life was struck by lightning again and again, and the media firestorms, Diana's tragic death, the shock, and for some the absolute horror of Charles' eventual marriage to her, all depicted with these lightning strikes. Each lightning strike seemed to kind of change, I would say, the course of history. So Camilla and Charles first connected way back in the early 70s. There was a bond that was strong, just like the moon energy, an unforeseen or an unseen veil, should I say, a kind of a current, a magnetic current pulling the two of them together, and circumstances didn't allow it to be, certainly acknowledged openly. And it was still there though, behind all these clouds, the magnetic pull they had towards each other. And because it wasn't acknowledged openly and everything was secret and kind of hidden in the shadows, this has made it a tumultuous journey for those two being together. Camilla's life seen through the Chariot's lens is a story of a life lesson of balancing opposing forces. So, for instance, in the Rider-Waite, we get the black and the white sphinxes, or sometimes we get the black and white horses, and it's a real kind of feat of ingenuity to try and get things to balance and go in the right direction. The shadow and light of love and duty, public scorn and ridicule, and, you know, public honour eventually. So, yeah, it's definitely been a balancing act not to lose control of the reins. So Camilla's triumph is not the fairy tale kind. It's a hard-won victory by a woman who's weathered the storms through endurance and self-mastery and willpower, which is what the Chariot's all about. So because the Chariot is a number 7, this means she will relate in her life's journey to all the 7s in the tarot. So let's just take a look at what she's been weathering then. So the 7 of Swords, let's start with that one. So this is a card of, it's the card of the sneak, actually. It's the card of the thief, of cunning behaviour, like a shadow master. She's kind of like slipped through King Charles' kingdom like a veiled ghost with claws and a strategy. So she was kind of like bobbing and weaving, ducking and diving, and collecting her victories very slowly in silence. She is stealth made regal, and she took the crown while everyone else was watching the other player. So she was acting behind the scenes, avoiding unnecessary conflict, sneakiness, kind of like in a protective way, employing discretion, patience, and timing to navigate the tricky terrain and not be caught out. So with the 7 of Wands then, we see a lone crow up here perched on a cliff's edge, and the crow is holding a higher ground position, having won a hard-won kind of status position or vantage point. She's not looking down at these other crows, she's looking out across the new horizon. And although it is a higher position, there's absolutely no room for her to retreat. She can't go back. She can only kind of hold ground, really, where she is. So Camilla was once dismissed, but gradually, very gradually and slowly, rose in public acceptance. And notice as well how we get these 6 crows that are underneath her. So they would be, you know, challenging her position, the critics, the rivals, the paparazzi, the forces that threaten, but can't quite reach, you know, they're not quite there. They can't quite reach her. She's out of their reach. And the cliff edge also mirrors how, you know, one misstep and she would have been over the edge. There would have been a falling from grace. So this crow, Camilla, is declaring, I will not be moved. And the news, the papers, the royal watchers, Diana's global supporters, all here, couldn't unseat her, despite the constant pecking, you know, from underneath her. So the 7 of Cups, so we see a crow on a plinth, and she's looking and imagining, staring at all these floating cups. This is also a great card of imagination and dreaminess. And Camilla kind of lived for quite a while in a world of possibilities and imagination, but not reality. the idea of being open with Charles, let alone marrying him, was for decades just a fantasy rather than a real actual option. So the Seven of Cups represents both treasures and poisons. Notice how we get the snake here in one cup, so that would represent the kind of the dangers and the hostility. We get mountains here. These would represent the obstacles, challenges, the uphill journey to acceptance. We also get a bird's skull right here, and that would be symbolic of the deathly shadow of Diana that haunted their relationship, you know, no matter what. It was always there. It's something that's never gone away. And then we get the castle here, and the castle kind of like has both, almost looks a little bit creepy, like, you know, that haunting figure of Diana was still in that castle somehow. So yeah, the royal family, the institution, both a prize and a prison at the same time. And then the lotus flower here, that would be like her transformation. So just like the lotus flower, you know, grows out of murky, muddy waters and then into the light of day. And, you know, a place where she could be seen and blossom into a queen. The heart would be her heart's choice and her love. And of course, the wreath of success, which is also depicted in that chariot card there. You know, that's the victory. It's the prize of the victor. What's been achieved despite enormous resistance. So in the Seven of Pentacles, the tree in the Seven of Pentacles kind of looks like it's leaning. It doesn't look like it's growing upright. It's kind of stripped of any lush green leaves, like it's endured long, long winters. And although worn and weathered, it still holds the fruit of the pentacles and an actual nest as well. So Camilla was no ingenue. You know, she wasn't a fairy tale bride. She entered her role much, much later in life, already weathered by experience, and her strength has come not from that youthful bloom, but from her journey where she's had to endure. And Camilla's story was never glamorous, in fact, unlike the lush green tree of Diana, but more about survival, endurance, and timing. So with the lightning struck tower, both Diana and Camilla have this as their character cards. So these energies played out for both of them, and their lives were kind of defined by the lightning strikes. You know, they're both Cancerians. We see the lightning strikes in the chariot there, and we see the huge lightning strike here. And Camilla, like I said, survived the tower moment by this particular tower moment anyway, by becoming smaller, quiet and patient. And that's where the this one comes in: smaller, quiet, patient. It's quite cunning in a way, but it's a survival strategy nevertheless. And yeah, a lot of patience. Diana, with the lightning strike, she kind of became bigger and more outspoken. She left the monarchy and tried to reinvent herself independently, while Camilla waited for that acceptance to come. So Diana leaned into public confrontation, speaking publicly in interviews. I'm thinking about how she leaned into the confrontation by, saying there's always been three of us in this marriage. And sadly, her life, Diana's life, was cut short before she could kind of fully stabilise the new structure, the new tower that she was building from the ground up. Whereas Camilla, well, she chose to retreat. She didn't publicly fight back at all, and she survived by just perching, excuse me, quietly, waiting out the storm. That lightning strike was like a shocking public revelation of Camilla's affair with Charles and the destruction of the Diana fairy tale. So the lightning was the divorce itself, that crisis that destroyed the old structures of illusion. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick sip of my iced coffee a minute, guys. Okay, that's better. So yeah, the lightning strike brought down those structures of illusion, and where Charles' heart really lay with Camilla. So Camilla's life lesson from the Tower moments was learning that, survival isn't about fighting the lightning, but, she couldn't resist. There's no point in resisting this lightning. You've got to go with it. And she outlasted this storm quietly until the wreckage had settled, and her lesson was brutal, just as Diana's was brutal. There's nothing, softly, you cannot sugarcoat the lightning struck tower whatsoever. It's brutal, guys. And, Camilla didn't cling to the old structures. She just let it all fall and waited for her chance to rebuild, because you cannot win by resisting. Her strategy was, you win by letting it strike and then rising up from the rubble when no one expects you to. So her soul cards then are firstly the moon card, and note again how we get a crow on a barren branch, just like, so this would be before and this would be after, when she's more queen consort. But before that time, the barren branches mirror the fruits that haven't grown yet, those pentacles that haven't emerged, those wins that haven't emerged, those victories. Much of Camilla's life before marrying Charles actually speaks to this imagery. So Camilla existed on the barren branch of public opinion. I mean, she was hated, guys. She was constantly slated, and she was living in a very shadowy, moonlit, veiled kind of environment. The crow is just waiting. This is like Camilla just waiting for her time, dreaming, imagining how things would look if she was, in that prime position, that big crow there in the full light of the moon. And the cage, I would say, represents the right, waiting for the right moment for liberation. Once many, many moon cycles had been lived through and passed, she couldn't openly live her truth for decades. Remember, the moon card is all about secrets and lies and things not coming to light. And yeah, decades upon decades of waiting. Emotionally and socially, she was literally caged. You know, she couldn't move. It was all a big secret. And once she did become queen, she symbolically flew, you know, the cage door flew open, clanged, and there she was as that big crow, illuminated, no longer hidden in the shadows, no longer a dirty secret. She's seen in full, the full moonlight, the whole picture, and no longer a wee Duchess of Cornwall, but living her dream, the truth of that dream being queen consort, finally visible, finally validated. Her other soul card is the Hermit, and we see the Hermit, Camilla, sitting in a snowing landscape, cold isolation, stripped of comforts, beauty, and leaving only inner strength to get through the social frost. So she was uncelebrated, she was unpopular, but she survived the cold. She learned to navigate the frost and isolation. And also, I would say, guided by that distant star there of, you know, hope and destiny. Her vision of recognition there. So, again, we see those, I'm just looking at those barren branches, no fruit on them as yet. So, that kind of solitary wisdom and strategy that she had was all lighting the way in her mind. The hermit's symbol is the lantern. So as she's thinking, imagining, gathering wisdom, it's illuminating her inner cognition. And she is power earned in silence during the barren cycles. More like a dark fairy tale, I would say, is her story. And, you know, emerging through the clang of the cage, biting cold winds, endless scorn, you know, from the public, the lightning storms. But you know what? She didn't flinch, did she? So all these elements were a fantastic training ground for her, you know, for her to build her endurance and sharpen her character as well. So whatever we think of Camilla, like her or loathe her, my goodness, she has shown endurance. So guys, let's do a few oracle cards, some pendulum readings, and some charms as well. So let's get some charms. Start with what's the vibe for the oracle. Okay, I just want to ask the question, Princess Diana, what do you think of Queen Consort Camilla? What do you think of Camilla now that you're on the other side? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Anything you can tell us, Princess Diana? Anything? Okay, Diana. Thoughts and feelings on Camilla, please. Thoughts and feelings on Camilla. Okay, I'm just going to turn that one over. Oh, tingles. Toxic. Got a toxic mushroom. I forget the name of that mushroom. Drama, arguments, incompatible. So that's Diana's thoughts on Camilla there. Let's go to Crow Tarot. Okay, anything Spirit would like us to know about Camilla? Let's have an oracle card, please, for Camilla. Yep, flew out. Displacement. Look at that. So the crows are actually attacking and causing havoc and chaos on a car that could well be just driving past, but they're just going for it, trashing it. So yeah, like I was saying, Camilla was trashed. She was hated, disliked, ridiculed, scorned, everything under the sun. Okay, let's go to a couple of pendulums then. So, right for a yes, left for a no, up and down for a maybe, and stop for a block. Does Camilla harbour any resentment towards Harry? Does Queen Consort Camilla harbour any resentment towards Harry? That's a right for a yes. Okay, second question. Does Camilla harbour any guilt over Diana? I mean, she was having an affair with her husband. Does Camilla harbour any any guilt over Diana? And that's up and down for a maybe. Interesting. Okay, I'd like to ask, did Camilla like Diana at all? Did Camilla ever like Diana? Did she like her as a person? And I get a no for that. And my last question, don't want to overload the pendulum. Does Queen Camilla, I don't know why I want to ask this, but I do. Does Queen Camilla get on with Catherine? Does Queen Camilla get on with Catherine? Queen Consort Camilla, does she get on with Catherine? Oh, that's nice. That's a yes. Cool. All right, we'll leave it on that one. Actually, that's interesting because the toxic card, the opposite card, is chaos, upheaval, disaster, downfall. Well, we've been talking about the lightning struck tower and the downfall there, weathering the storms with the chariot card as well. We get a stormy scene here, but I was talking about the displacement card, how utter chaos is ensuing by the crows, and this card says chaos. So I'm going to put those two together. They seem to chime. Right, on the charms then. Well, my God. Where to start? We're going to have to start with this one, I'm afraid. Look at that. We've got the Eiffel Tower. Okay. Well, first of all, Paris is a very romantic city. And we've got 3 acorns here. So acorns grow into very strong structures of, oak trees. And a bit like the Eiffel Tower, it's a very strong structure. But we can't get away from the fact that that's where Diana died, in Paris. I've got thousands of charms in that rose quartz bowl, thousands. And that's the one that came out incredible. and 3 acorns. And then we've got a helicopter, and this kind of speaks for me to how Camilla was, like I said, she kind of, when the lightning was striking, she perched on a quiet branch. It's almost like she took herself out of that scenario, back, made herself small, waited patiently, just completely removed herself from the whole scene. Interesting. Oh, guys, come on, what do you make of that? That's left me with tingles. Diana's always a good communicator, I've found. Right, okay. I am going to leave that one there. Drop your comments in the box below. Make of that what you will. The charms are always, for me, the most interesting part of the reading. Yeah, what can I say? If you have somebody that you would like me to cover, please do drop that in the comments. Like I said, if you'd like a private reading with me, please do get in touch. I cover always in every reading all the, you know, the soul birth cards as well as any questions that you might have. Guys, you have a blessed rest of the day, and I will see you on the next. Bye for now.